Habit 7 is the habit of renewal. What are you doing? Well, you can see him sawing down this tree. I bet you're tired. I am. Well, how long have you been doing it? Oh, I spent 2-3 hours. Oh, I bet you're really beat. Say, well, why don't you sharpen the saw? Too busy sawing, dum-dum. How many here have ever been too busy driving? You didn't take time to get gas. In physics, it's called the second law of thermodynamics. Everything breaks down. Entropy. It becomes disordered. The opposite of sharpening the saw is to leave it dull until the blade breaks, till the mind becomes dull, the spirit insensitive, the body flabby, where everything has gone to pot. The concept of sharpening the saw, personally, interpersonally, managerially, organizationally, is the concept of continuous improvement, kaizen, continuous learning, forever getting better. Habit 7 is the habit that focuses on production capability. Habit 7, if done right, automatically develops the other 6 habits because it takes a high level of proactivity and of responsibility to consistently sharpen the saw. I do not know of one activity that has as great a leverage factor in life as habit 7. What do I mean by leverage? See, if you put the fulcrum in the middle and you put in 1 unit of effort here, you get out 1 unit of productivity here. If you move that fulcrum over, you can put in 1 unit of effort here and get out 100 units of productivity over there. Habit 7 moves the fulcrum over. You may only spend a few hours in an entire week, a week made up of 168 hours. And those few hours will affect the quality, the productivity, the satisfaction, the quality of relationships, the quality of decision-making of every other hour. But the problem is, habit 7 lies in quadrant 2. It is not urgent. That's why most people neglect it. They do it very unsystematically. They hit and miss on it. Sometimes they get kind of imbalanced on it. They focus only in one dimension. See, basically there are 4 dimensions in life: the body, the mind, the spirit, and relationships. We call that the social, emotional side. Social is our relationship with others. Emotional is our relationship with ourselves. Those are basically the 4 dimensions of organizations as well. It has its economic side to produce the bottom line towards some mission within a certain value system. That is the spiritual side. It must also have its culture of high trust. That's the social side. In order to have empowerment in the development and use of people's talents, that's the mental side. So those are the 4 dimensions. If you study all of history and psychology and philosophy, inevitably you'll find the same 4 dimensions constantly mentioned. But all 4 need to be attended to in a consistent and regular and balanced way in order to properly sharpen the saw. let's look at each one in turn. Under physical, we usually think about these elements of renewal: exercise, nutrition, and stress management, so that we are not crippled, paralyzed from being overstressed, overtaxed, worn out, burned out. Exercise. More and more consciousness is happening inside society about the importance of exercise. Feeling better, looking better. And it doesn't take that much time, really. More and more of the data is coming in that if it's done regularly and moderately, vigorous walking, some calisthenics, it doesn't require a heavy, intensive workout as they once thought. The principle is balance, fun, moderation, consistency, variety. In nutrition, most of us know what is right in this area, but the question is, do we have the willpower to do it? Do we have the commitment? Is it important to us? Usually when we have no problems, when it's more a matter of vanity than longevity or vitality, oftentimes it won't be important to us, or it will be important because of our vanity. But when it gets to the point where it will literally affect the quality of your life and the length of your life, many people then begin to take it seriously, but often not until there is some painful, acute manifestation. Stress. Let's look at that. You've heard of other techniques on stress management. Meditation, biofeedback, exercise, and so forth. I think they're good. Do you know what I think the greatest stress management idea is? Meaning, purpose, contribution. A life that turns you on, work that turns you on, a cause that turns you on. Study Hans Selye's works. The importance of having meaningful projects and contributions. To never retire to leisure. To retire to projects that are meaningful, that excite you, that contribute, that add value, that make a difference. Let's look at the mental. The very fact that you would come here and really attend to this work and will be willing to participate. One classified it as like a drink from a fire hose. But it may stimulate you to get into other areas and to trigger off a great effort to keep your mind vital and alert and alive. Get back to reading. Give yourself the challenge of a book a month, then a book a week. Then learn to read conceptually and rapidly. And you can go through many books very rapidly and get the gist of it. Reading groups, discussion groups, study groups, taking classes at the university, correspondence courses, coming to seminar days like this, anything to keep your mind vital and active and alert, challenged. See, that's all part of it. Then learn in your planning to visualize, to begin with the end in mind, to see it clearly, to use your imagination. See, all of that becomes part of this mental exercise. Spiritually, it's a very private area. People do it in their own way. But basically it means renew yourself in your value system, in what you deeply, deeply value, what you treasure, what you believe in. Work on this mission statement. Work diligently on it until it's crystallized and settled. Then go back to it. Keep looking at it. You try to make it made of principles that are timeless, see. And in some way, you want to get them into your nature regularly so that you are sharpening the saw by renewing your commitment, your vows, your covenants, whatever is important and sacred to you. Get into the literature that inspires you, give you a sense of reaching on a higher level, see, of contributing, of making a difference. What about the education of the conscience? Until it's very sensitive, extremely open, very influenceable, so that the moral sense is deep and you can instantly detect when you're going awry from it. Try to live by your conscience day in and day out, to be courageous in the hard moments. All of that is part of this spiritual sharpening the saw. As I mentioned, people do it all differently because it's so private. For myself, I have a life cycle. I get up early. I don't like getting up that early. In fact, it's miserable. But I've learned that if I can be strong in just about 3 or 4 hard moments, everything else is a piece of cake. And one of those hard moments is getting up early and getting on that life cycle and just start pedaling. I hate biking, really. But you know why I like it? Because I can read. I used to run till I messed up my knees. I really had more enjoyment in the activity itself of running. But I can read with the bike. So I have a whole library right behind my bike. I've trained myself to go through 3, 4, 5 books a week. So from 5:30 to 6:30 every morning, to me, it's the daily private victory. Now that may not fit your schedule or your approach, but think about what is it that you can do to win the private victory so that you're strong in the hard moments and you nurture yourself and develop your mind and your conscience, see, before you even encounter life, before you even encounter other people. Some people do it later in the day. The logistics is always different for different people, and the methods, the approaches. Looking at how the private victory, through this sharpening the saw, physically, mentally, spiritually, helps to produce the public victories, that is, in our relationships with others. And this is where habits 4, 5, and 6 are involved. 4, 5, and 6 is the essence of sharpening the saw in the public victory, socially. I call it the social and emotional dimension. Social means your relationship with others. Emotional means your relationship with yourself. One of the most powerful action steps you can take after today is to begin the process of rebuilding a broken relationship you care about. Particularly reach out to touch the one that tests you the most. Rebuild the one relationship you care enormously about, but which is strained, which has been wounded. Dag Hammarskjöld put it this way: it is more noble to give yourself completely to one individual than to labor diligently for the salvation of the masses. In other words, you can be very dedicated for many causes out there, worthy causes, projects, business activities, 10, 12, 14 hours a day, 6, 7 days a week, and not have a meaningful relationship with your own teenage son. And that will eat at you. You know it. It weakens your fiber, your will. What's it all about, see? What am I working so hard for? Had a friend of mine who was just beside himself because his boy was so rebellious, unappreciative. I said to him, I'm teaching empathic communication now in the course. Why don't you come in for a while? He thought he got the concept within a week, went to the boy. I would like to talk to you. There is nothing to talk about. The boy stood up and walked out. He said I about tackled him at the door. If he had only known I'd taken a course to prepare for that one visit. I said, of course, he's only testing your sincerity, and what did he find out? You don't really want to understand him. You want him to shape up. He should, that whippersnapper. He knows full well what he's doing. I said, look inside. You've got to do a lot more interior work. He stayed with the course. He did the work. He came to me and he said, I'm prepared. I said, he's going to test your sincerity in every way. He can't be vulnerable to you, have his expectations aroused, and then blast it again. He sat down with his boy. I'd really like to talk. I know you think there's nothing to talk about, but it's because perhaps I haven't listened. He said, you have never listened to me. And he stood up and started walking out. And before he got out the door, the father said, I'll tell you one thing. I'm sure sorry about the way I embarrassed you in front of your friends the other day. The boy whipped around. Do you have any idea how embarrassing that was? And he teared up. And my friend said to me, all the teaching you had done did not touch me like that tear. I realized this boy cares. This boy is sincere. He's vulnerable. I didn't even know he cared at all. He said, Stephen, never did I want to understand that boy as I did then. And he said, we sat and talked, and I genuinely tried to understand. The mother came in and said, time for bed. It's past midnight. And he said, Mom, we want to talk, don't we, Dad? They talked till very late. The father told me in the halls of my building the next day with tears in his eye, I found my son again. Be patient. It won't happen overnight. You may need to apologize. You may need to forgive and forget. You may need to make all kinds of different deposits over time, and even won't see any evidence for a while. You plant the Chinese bamboo tree, and for 4 years you see nothing. Nothing. All the growth goes under the ground, and you're working diligently to optimize the growing conditions. You see nothing. 4 years. Eventually a little bulb and a little shoot, and that's it. 4 years. On the 5th year, the Chinese bamboo tree grows 80 feet. All the growth goes this way. So to cultivate that relationship, to think win-win, to empathically listen. Same thing would pertain to a relationship, say, with your business partner, a key associate, a key employee. If there is a sense of enmity there, that enmity will spread out and affect other things. And it will take more nobility of character to do whatever is necessary to rebuild that one. And you know what the interesting thing is? If you rebuild the one, it affects the many. The key to the 99 is the one, because every one of the 99 is a one. The key to the many is the one. Why? Because what you have to do to develop and educate and discipline your character affects everything that you do in your life. So it has exponential leveraging capacity as well in relationships to nurture your emotional well springs. So important. Let me share with you a few thoughts and challenges to encourage you in the process of developing these habits. One of the most important things you can do is to share these ideas with others, with your family, with your friends and associates. Don't just retell what you've learned, but talk about the insights you've acquired and the ideas that you want to implement, because that's where the real learning takes place. It is in the teaching and in the sharing. Get with a coach or someone who is also working on these habits. Set a specific time to get together and keep that date. Share insights into what has worked for you and what has not. Discover together how you can overcome the challenges you face in developing all of these habits. Set goals to improve in specific areas. Focus on a single habit. Look over your materials. Read and reflect on how you can improve in this habit. Revisit the commitments you've made to yourself throughout the course. Don't try to change everything all at once. Listen with your heart. Determine those things that are most important for you to work on right now. Remember, don't give up. Be patient. A strong character is not developed overnight. Choose to live your life based upon correct principles. All of the 7 habits are based on universal principles which have endured throughout the ages. Live the habits. Work within your circle of influence and become a transition figure in your work, your community, and your family. Set aside time to go to a quiet place to really think about your mission. What is it you stand for? What is your purpose? What are your values? Keep working through your mission statement until it inspires you. Then live by your mission. Choose to put first things first. Search for a win-win in every situation. Learn to stop and listen to others first. Listen with your heart. Value differences. Look at differences as the springboard to finding the third alternative. Finally, remember to always sharpen the saw, to renew yourself in a very balanced way. The power of these habits is in the doing, in the living, in the continuous, day-by-day improvements. It's a constant effort. We need to make these habits and these principles a part of our very life. We must pay the price by actually living them, rather than just understanding them intellectually. I love the quote from T.S. Eliot. Think about this. He once said, "We must never cease from exploring, and the end of our exploring will be to arrive where we began and know the place for the first time." You see, in a very real sense, you already know these habits in your heart. The exciting thing is to embark on a lifelong adventure, an exciting time of literally internalizing them and living them and experiencing the magnificent fruits that come in the totality of our lives.